Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real quick. Some of y'all are out here stressing over things that ain't even your job to fix. You're staying up late, pacing back and forth, running scenarios in your head, trying to figure out how it's all going to work out when God already handled it. See, the problem ain't that God ain't moving in your life. The problem is you won't sit down long enough to let him work. You're trying to play chess with the creator of the universe like he needs your input on the next move. Let me tell you something. He don't. God don't need your overthinking. He don't need you doubting. He don't need you running around like a chicken with your head cut off. What he needs is your faith. See, faith is the currency of blessings. The more faith you put in, the more peace you get back. But some of y'all keep bouncing checks in the faith department because you're paying everything with worry instead. Listen, if God woke you up this morning, if he put breath in your lungs, if he gave you the strength to stand here today, don't you think he's got the rest handled? I mean, let's be real. How many times in your life did you think you weren't going to make it? How many times did you think you were done for? And yet, here you are. Not because you figured it out, but because he worked it out. Now, I get it. You want to be in control. You want to know the outcome before you take the leap. But that ain't faith. That's fear wearing a fancy disguise. Faith is stepping out when you don't see the whole staircase. Faith is trusting that even if you don't know how, God does. So let me ask you something. When has worrying ever fixed anything? Has losing sleep ever paid your bills? Has stressing out ever healed your heart? Has overthinking ever made the road easier? No. So why are you still doing it? God is saying, I got this. Sit down, be still, and trust me. But you got to stop snatching it back out of his hands. You gave it to him. Now leave it there. So today I challenge you, stop overthinking, stop doubting, stop trying to outplan God. Just trust him, because while you're trying to figure it out, he's already worked it out. Now go on and walk like it's already done. There comes a point in life where you have to realize that some things are simply out of your control. No matter how much you stress, no matter how many sleepless nights you endure, and no matter how many scenarios you run through in your head, you cannot change what is already in God's hands. The problem is, most people struggle with truly believing that. They say they trust God, but their actions tell a different story. They pray for guidance, but the moment they don't see immediate results, they start taking matters into their own hands. That's not faith. That's control disguised as faith. And control is exhausting. People spend so much of their lives trying to manage things that aren't even their responsibility to handle. They try to dictate how relationships should go, how opportunities should unfold, how their future should look, and how every single detail should come together. And when things don't happen the way they expected, they panic. They start questioning whether God is even listening, whether he sees what they're going through, whether he cares. But here's the truth. God never stops handling things just because you can't see him working. He doesn't operate on your timeline. He doesn't move according to your expectations. He moves according to his perfect plan. Think about the times in your life when things seemed like they were falling apart, but somehow, in the end, everything came together better than you imagined. You were stressed, worried, and maybe even doubting. But then looking back, you realize that if things had gone the way you originally wanted, you wouldn't have ended up where you needed to be. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was God handling it. The issue is, in the moment, we forget that he's done it before. We get so caught up in what's happening right now that we act like this is the first time we've ever needed his help. Human nature makes us want to fix everything ourselves. We convince ourselves that if we just think about it hard enough, plan enough, strategize enough, We can control the outcome. But when has that ever truly worked? Even when we do manage to manipulate a situation to go the way we want, there's always a price: stress, exhaustion, anxiety, or even regret. But when God handles it, He does it in a way that brings peace. The problem is most people don't know how to rest in that peace because they are addicted to the illusion of control. Control gives people a false sense of security. It makes them feel like they are the ones making things happen. But real security comes from knowing that even when you have no control, you are still secure because God is in control. That's why some people can walk through storms with a smile while others fall apart at the first sign of trouble. The difference isn't that one person has an easier life than the other. It's that one person trusts God fully while the other is still trying to figure things out on their own. When you try to handle everything yourself, you are carrying a burden that was never meant for you. God didn't create you to solve every problem, predict every outcome, or plan every detail. He created you to trust Him. The weight you're carrying, the stress, the fear, the uncertainty, it's not yours to bear. That's why He tells us to cast our cares on Him. Not just some of them, not just the ones we think are small, all of them. But too often, people treat prayer like a temporary relief instead of a permanent release. They pray about something, feel a little lighter for a moment, but then they pick it back up as soon as they don't see immediate changes. Let's be real. If you could fix it, it would already be fixed. If you had all the answers, you wouldn't be struggling with the questions. But the reason you're stressed, the reason you're overwhelmed, the reason you keep running in circles is because you're trying to do a job that only God can do, and God doesn't need your help. He needs your trust. Imagine someone giving you a beautifully wrapped gift, but instead of opening it, you just keep shaking it, trying to guess what's inside. You spend so much time trying to figure it out that you never actually enjoy what's been given to you. That's how a lot of people treat God's blessings. Instead of trusting that He knows what He's doing, they keep trying to predict the outcome, to make sense of it all, to overanalyze every little thing. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the joy of simply trusting. God is already handling it, but He won't force you to rest in that truth. You have to make the choice to believe it. You have to decide whether you want to live in constant stress or live in faith. Because those are the only two options. Either you trust Him or you don't. There is no in between. And trust isn't just a feeling, it's a decision. It's choosing every single day to remind yourself that you are not in control. And that's a good thing, because if you were in control, you'd probably mess it up anyway. Think about the moments in life when you tried to force something to happen. Maybe it was a relationship you knew wasn't right, but you kept pushing for it anyway. Maybe it was a job you thought you needed, but God closed the door. Maybe it was a situation where you tried to rush the process, only to realize later that you weren't even ready for what you were asking for. Every time we try to take control of something that belongs to God, we make a mess of it. And then we wonder why things feel so hard. When you truly believe that God is handling it, your entire perspective shifts. You stop stressing over things that are out of your control. You stop trying to rush a process that is unfolding exactly as it should. You stop losing sleep over problems that God already has a solution for. You start walking with a different kind of confidence because you know that no matter what it looks like right now, it's already worked out. Faith is not about seeing the outcome. It's about trusting that there is an outcome even when you can't see it. It's about understanding that just because you don't have all the answers doesn't mean God doesn't. It's about realizing that your job is not to figure everything out, but to trust the one who already has. Some of the most beautiful things in life happen when you finally let go, when you stop gripping so tightly to your plans and start surrendering to His. when you stop trying to force things and start allowing things to unfold. That's when doors open that you never expected. That's when opportunities arise that you never could have planned. That's when blessings come that you never even prayed for, because God's plan for you is bigger than anything you could have imagined. But you can't receive what God has for you if your hands are too full holding on to what you think should happen. You have to let go. You have to trust. You have to remind yourself daily that just because you don't understand how it's going to work out doesn't mean it's not already working out. Every time you start to stress, stop and ask yourself, who told you that you had to figure this out? Who told you that it was your job to know every step before you take it? Who told you that worrying was going to change the outcome? Because it wasn't God. God never called you to be anxious. He called you to trust him. And if you can truly believe that he's already handling it, you'll stop trying to carry what was never yours to hold. Faith is a powerful thing, but too many people replace it with overthinking without even realizing it. They believe in God, they say they trust him, they pray for guidance, but then they spend the rest of their time worrying, doubting, and questioning everything. That's not faith. That's fear disguised as logic. And the truth is, overthinking is just fear in a fancy outfit. It makes you feel like you're being responsible, like you're just trying to make the best decision, like you're planning ahead. But what you're really doing is trying to control an outcome that isn't yours to control. Faith is the ability to move forward even when you don't have all the answers. It's the confidence to take the next step even when you can't see the whole staircase. It's knowing that even if things don't go the way you planned, they are still going exactly the way they should. Overthinking, on the other hand, keeps you stuck. It traps you in an endless loop of what ifs and worst case scenarios. It convinces you that if you just think hard enough, if you analyze every angle, if you replay every conversation, somehow you'll figure out the solution. But that's not how life works. And that's certainly not how faith works. Faith and overthinking cannot exist in the same space. One will always push the other out. When you choose faith, you release the need to know everything in advance. You let go of the anxiety that comes with uncertainty. You remind yourself that just because you don't see how it's going to work out doesn't mean it's not already working out. But when you choose overthinking, you block the peace that faith brings. You let fear take over. You allow doubt to creep in, and suddenly, instead of walking in confidence, you're paralyzed by indecision. People overthink because they are afraid of making the wrong choice. They want guarantees. They want proof. They want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything will turn out exactly the way they want it to. But faith doesn't come with guarantees. Faith requires trust. It requires believing that even if things don't happen the way you expect, they will still happen the way they need to. Overthinking convinces you that the more you analyze something, the safer you will be. But in reality, the more you overthink, the more you feed your fears, the more you try to control, the more out of control you actually feel. There is a reason why faith brings peace and overthinking brings anxiety. Faith aligns you with the truth that you are not in this alone, that there is a greater plan at work, that God is guiding your steps even when you can't see the full picture. Overthinking, on the other hand, convinces you that everything is on your shoulders, that you have to figure it all out by yourself, that if you make one wrong move, everything will fall apart. That's a heavy burden to carry, and the worst part is it's not even a real burden. It's a false one that your mind created. Think about the last time you spent hours, maybe even days, overthinking a situation. Maybe you were trying to make a decision. Maybe you were replaying a conversation in your head, wondering if you said the right thing. Maybe you were stressing over something that hadn't even happened yet. Now, think about how much peace that overthinking stole from you. Did you feel better afterward? Did all that worrying bring you clarity? Or did it just exhaust you, leaving you more confused and frustrated than before? Now think about the times when you truly trusted God with something, when you let go and stopped trying to control the outcome, when you decided to believe that no matter what happened, you would be okay. Didn't you feel lighter? Didn't you feel a sense of relief, like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders? That's the difference between faith and overthinking. Faith gives you rest. Overthinking drains you. The reason why overthinking is so dangerous is because it tricks you into believing that you are being productive. It makes you feel like you're doing something, when in reality, you're just running in circles. Faith moves you forward. It allows you to take action, even in uncertainty. It gives you the confidence to trust that whatever happens next, God has already gone before you and prepared the way. Overthinking keeps you stuck in the same place, analyzing every possible outcome, trying to control something that was never yours to control in the first place. Faith requires surrender. It requires letting go of the need to know everything in advance. It requires believing that even if things don't go according to your plan, they are still going according to God's plan. Overthinking refuses to surrender. It keeps you holding on, obsessing over details, trying to predict the future, trying to solve problems that don't even exist yet. And in the process, it robs you of the joy and peace that come with trusting God fully. The problem with overthinking is that it always leads to more overthinking. One thought leads to another, then another, then another, until suddenly a small worry has turned into a massive fear. Faith, on the other hand, stops that cycle before it even begins. It silences the noise. It reminds you that you don't have to have all the answers to move forward. It reassures you that no matter what happens, you are being taken care of. People who live by faith walk differently, they talk differently, they carry themselves differently. They don't let stress consume them because they know that no matter what is happening, God is still in control. They don't let fear dictate their decisions because they understand that even if they don't know the outcome, God does. They don't waste time over-analyzing things they cannot change because they know that worrying about something doesn't give them power over it. Overthinking is an enemy of faith. But the good news is you get to choose which one you allow to rule your life. You get to decide whether you will spend your days stuck in fear or walking in trust. You get to decide whether you will exhaust yourself trying to predict the future or find peace in knowing that God already has the future handled. Faith is a choice. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. If you want to stop overthinking, start by reminding yourself of everything God has already done for you. Think about the times when you didn't know how you were going to make it, but somehow you did. Think about the situations where you thought there was no way out, but then a door opened that you didn't expect. Think about all the moments where you worried for nothing, because in the end, it all worked out. If God has come through for you before, what makes you think He won't do it again? Faith is what allows you to breathe when life feels overwhelming. It is what keeps you grounded when everything around you feels uncertain. It is what gives you strength when you feel weak, clarity when you feel confused, and peace when your mind is full of noise. But you cannot walk in faith and overthink at the same time. One will always overpower the other. The question is, which one will you choose? Worry is something that creeps in slowly. It starts as a small thought, a tiny concern, and before you know it, it's all you can think about. It keeps you up at night, takes over your conversations, and drains you in ways you don't even realize. Worry convinces you that if you think about something long enough, you'll be able to fix it. But that's never how it works. Worry doesn't solve anything. It doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't open doors. It doesn't bring solutions. All it does is steal your peace, exhaust your mind, and make you doubt the very thing you should be trusting in. People have a habit of worrying about things that aren't even happening yet. They play out worst-case scenarios in their heads, imagining problems before they even exist. They convince themselves that if they don't stress over something, they aren't being responsible. But responsibility and worry are not the same thing. Responsibility is taking action when necessary. Worry is stressing over something you have no control over. It's carrying a burden that was never meant for you. It's trying to figure out every possible detail of a future that hasn't even arrived yet. There is a reason why worrying doesn't bring peace. It was never meant to. Worrying was never designed to help you, guide you, or prepare you for anything. It was designed to keep you stuck. It was designed to distract you from faith. It was designed to steal your joy and make you question what you already know deep down, that God is in control. Worry makes you forget all the times in your life when you thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. It makes you forget the prayers that have already been answered, the doors that have already been opened, the ways God has already shown up for you, time and time again. Think about how much energy is wasted on worrying. How many days, weeks, even years people have spent in fear over things that never even happened. Worry is one of the biggest thieves of time. It takes away moments that should have been spent in gratitude, joy, and peace, and replaces them with stress, anxiety, and fear. And for what? Has worrying ever changed an outcome? Has it ever made the road ahead easier? Has it ever led to anything good? Some people have become so used to worrying that they don't even realize they're doing it. It has become second nature, a habit they don't even question anymore. They wake up worrying, they go to sleep worrying. It's the first thing on their minds in the morning and the last thing before bed. But worry is not a sign of preparation. It's a sign of misplaced trust. It means you are putting your confidence in your own ability to figure everything out instead of putting your confidence in God. It means you are relying on your limited understanding instead of His unlimited wisdom. It means you are trying to carry something that was never meant to be yours to hold. When you let go of worry, you make room for faith. You make room for peace. You make room for clarity. But as long as your mind is filled with worry, there is no space for anything else. Worry crowds out the voice of God. It drowns out His reassurance. It makes His promises seem distant, not because they aren't true, but because you are so focused on your fears that you can't hear anything else. The hardest part about letting go of worry is that it requires trust. It requires believing that even when things don't go the way you planned, they are still going exactly the way they should. It requires understanding that just because you don't see the answer yet doesn't mean there isn't one. It requires reminding yourself over and over again that God is already handling what you are trying to figure out. But too often people hold on to worry because it feels like they are doing something. They don't know how to sit still in faith, so they fill the silence with anxiety instead. They don't know how to trust without seeing proof, so they try to predict the future to give themselves a false sense of control. There is a reason why the Bible says, "Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" Worrying doesn't add anything to your life. It only takes away. It takes away time. It takes away joy. It takes away energy. And worst of all, it takes away faith. Because when you are constantly worrying, you are constantly doubting, you are constantly telling yourself that you have to figure it out because you don't truly believe that God already has. Some people convince themselves that their situation is different, that their worries are justified, that they have real problems, real struggles, real things to be concerned about. But worrying doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what the situation is, the outcome is always the same. Worrying makes things worse, not better. It makes problems seem bigger than they really are. It magnifies uncertainty. It turns small concerns into overwhelming fears. And the more you entertain worry, the more power it has over you. Letting go of worry doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you ignore your responsibilities or pretend problems don't exist. It means you handle what you can and trust God with the rest. It means you do your part and allow Him to do His. It means you stop exhausting yourself over things you were never meant to carry. It means you understand that no matter how much you stress, you cannot control the outcome, but you can control your response to it. Think about the things you worried about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The things that kept you up at night, that made you sick with anxiety, that stole your peace. How many of those things actually happened? And if they did happen, how many of them worked out in ways you didn't expect? How many times did God come through for you even when you didn't see a way out? If He did it then, why wouldn't He do it now? Worry tricks you into believing that if you aren't stressing over something, you aren't taking it seriously. But true wisdom is understanding that there is a difference between concern and obsession. There's a difference between preparing for the future and living in constant fear of it. There is a difference between acknowledging that a situation is difficult and allowing that situation to consume you. The best way to break free from worry is to replace it with trust. Every time worry creeps in, remind yourself of the times God has already come through for you. Every time fear tries to take over, speak faith instead. Every time doubt whispers in your ear, counter it with truth. The battle against worry is won by filling your mind with the right things. You cannot worry and trust God at the same time. One will always push the other out. People say they want peace, but they don't realize that peace is a choice. It doesn't just happen. It comes from deciding every single day that you will not let fear control you. It comes from making the conscious decision to believe that no matter what happens, you are taken care of. It comes from shifting your focus from problems to promises, from fear to faith, from worry to trust. God never intended for you to live a life consumed by worry. That is not His plan for you. He did not create you to spend your days overwhelmed, anxious, and afraid. He created you to walk in confidence, to rest in peace, to live with the assurance that you are not alone. Worrying has never solved a problem, but trusting God has. Stressing has never opened a door, but faith has. You get to choose what you focus on, and whatever you focus on will grow. If you feed worry, it will consume you. But if you feed faith, it will sustain you. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do. It's easy to say you trust God, easy to pray and ask Him to take control, but the real challenge comes when you have to leave it in His hands. Too often people pray about something, lay it at God's feet, and then within minutes they take it right back. They start overthinking, worrying, trying to figure it all out again. It's like handing over the steering wheel and then grabbing it back every time the road looks a little uncertain. That's not trust. That's fear. That's doubt. That's a refusal to fully surrender. And as long as you keep taking back what you've already given to Him, you will never experience the peace that comes with true faith. Trusting God means letting go completely. It means understanding that once you put something in His hands, you don't have to keep checking up on it. You don't have to micromanage the process. You don't have to stress about how it's going to work out. Because if you truly believe that He is in control, then you also believe that He doesn't need your help to handle it. He doesn't need you to figure it out. He doesn't need you to keep reanalyzing, rethinking, replaying every possible scenario in your mind. All He needs is your trust. But people have a habit of taking back what they already gave to God because deep down they are afraid that if they don't keep thinking about it, they will lose control. The truth is, control is an illusion. You were never in control to begin with. You can't control people. You can't control outcomes. You can't control the timing of things. You can do your part, but ultimately the rest is in God's hands. And if you really want to walk in faith, you have to stop interfering with what He is already working on. Think about all the times in your life when you tried to handle things on your own. How many times did your overthinking lead to peace? How many times did your worrying bring you the answer you were looking for? How many times did your stressing actually change the situation? The answer is never. Because when you try to do God's job, all you end up with is frustration and exhaustion. You weren't built to carry that weight. You weren't meant to hold on to things that are beyond your control. But as long as you keep taking back what you've already surrendered, you will never be able to walk in the freedom that comes with true faith. The reason why letting go is so hard is because it requires patience. It requires waiting. It requires trusting that even when you don't see progress, things are still moving in the right direction. But too often, people take things back into their own hands because they think nothing is happening. They don't see immediate results, so they assume God isn't working. They get impatient, start making their own moves, start forcing things, and end up making a bigger mess than before. Faith means trusting that just because you don't see something happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means believing that even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in the moments when it feels like God is nowhere to be found, He is still working. But when you take back what you already gave to Him, you disrupt the process. You delay what was already set in motion. You make things harder on yourself than they need to be. God's timing is perfect. His plan is perfect. His way is better than anything you could ever come up with on your own. But when you keep taking things back into your own hands, you are essentially saying that you don't trust His plan, that you think you know better, that you believe your way is the best way. And that kind of thinking is exactly what keeps people stuck in cycles of stress, worry, and frustration. Letting go means releasing not just the situation, but also the fear that comes with it. It means releasing the need to know every step before it happens. It means releasing the doubt that keeps whispering in your ear, making you question whether or not God is actually going to come through for you. Because the truth is, God has never failed you before, and He isn't going to start now. But every time you take back what you've already given to Him, you are choosing fear over faith. You are choosing worry over peace. You are choosing control over surrender. People say they trust God, but their actions say otherwise. They pray for direction, but then panic when things don't happen on their timeline. They ask for guidance, but then stress over every little detail as if they have to figure it all out themselves. They say they believe in God's plan, but then spend their days trying to manipulate situations to get the outcome they want. But real trust means stepping back. It means letting go. It means understanding that once you have surrendered something, your job is not to keep trying to fix it. It's to trust that it is already being taken care of. When you take back what you've already given to God, you are adding unnecessary stress to your life. You are carrying burdens you were never meant to carry. You are exhausting yourself with things that are beyond your control. And worst of all, you are blocking the peace that comes with fully trusting in Him. Because peace and control cannot exist in the same space. If you want peace, you have to let go of control. If you want clarity, you have to stop overanalyzing. If you want to truly experience the power of faith, you have to stop interfering with what God is doing. One of the biggest reasons people take back what they've already surrendered is because they are afraid of the unknown. They don't like uncertainty. They want guarantees. They want to know exactly how things will play out before they release their grip. But faith doesn't work like that. Faith requires stepping into the unknown without hesitation. It requires trusting that even if you don't have all the answers, God does. It requires believing that even if the road ahead looks uncertain, the destination is already secure. When you trust God fully, you stop feeling the need to keep checking on things. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop letting stress run your life because you know deep down that whatever happens next is not just out of your hands, it's in the best hands possible. But as long as you keep taking things back, you will continue to feel the weight of stress, the burden of overthinking, and the exhaustion that comes with trying to figure everything out on your own. God has already gone before you. He has already worked things out in ways you can't even imagine. He has already lined up opportunities, opened doors, and set things in motion that you don't even know about yet. But the only way you will be able to step into what He has for you is if you stop interfering with the process. The more you try to control things, the more you delay what was already meant for you. The more you stress about the outcome, the less you are able to enjoy the present moment. The more you overthink, the less peace you will have. Letting go is not just about releasing a situation. It's about releasing your fear, your doubt, your need for control. It's about trusting that even when things don't happen the way you want them to, they are still happening exactly the way they should. It's about understanding that your job is not to carry the burden, but to trust the one who already has. Because the moment you truly let go, the moment you truly surrender, that is the moment you will finally experience the peace you've been looking for. Faith is not just about believing that God will do something. It's about acting like it's already done. Too many people pray for things, ask God to move, and then walk around still doubting, still worrying, still carrying themselves like they don't know the victory is already won. If you really believe that God has already worked it out, then your actions, your attitude, your mindset, and your words should reflect that. You can't pray for breakthrough and then still move through life like you're stuck. You can't ask for blessings and then keep living with a spirit of lack. You can't declare victory while still carrying yourself like you're defeated. Faith is not just what you say, it's how you walk, how you think, how you live. When you truly believe that something's already handled, you don't waste time stressing over it. You don't keep going back and forth in your mind wondering how it's going to happen. You move with confidence because you know it's already done. You carry yourself with a different kind of energy because you know God is already ahead of you. But too many people let their circumstances determine their faith. Instead of letting their faith determine how they handle their circumstances, they wait until they see change before they believe. But that's not faith, that's just reacting to what's in front of them. Faith is moving forward before you see the evidence. It's believing before anything shifts. It's trusting so completely that you live as if it has already happened. Think about someone who has already received what they prayed for. Think about how they walk, how they talk, how they carry themselves. There's a confidence that comes with knowing you're covered. There's a peace that comes with knowing everything is already taken care of. That's the mindset you need to have before the blessing even shows up. When you walk like it's already done, you don't let small obstacles shake you. You don't let delays frustrate you. You don't let uncertainty make you doubt. You just keep moving forward because you know that no matter what happens, the promise still stands. The enemy wants nothing more than to shake your confidence. He wants you to doubt yourself, doubt your purpose, doubt your calling, doubt that God is even working. He knows that if he can make you question things, he can keep you stuck. He knows that if he can fill your mind with fear, he can stop you from stepping into the blessing that's already waiting for you. That's why faith is not just believing, it's actively rejecting doubt. It's refusing to entertain negativity. It's making a conscious decision every single day to walk like you already know how this story ends. People miss out on so much because they don't realize that how they carry themselves affects what they receive. When you walk in doubt, when you speak words of defeat, when you move through life as if things aren't going to work out, you block your own blessings. God can have something lined up for you, but if your mindset isn't ready for it, you won't even recognize it when it comes. That's why you have to act like it's already done. You have to train your mind to expect good things. You have to wake up every day with the attitude that what you've been praying for is already in motion, even if you don't see it yet. Faith is not about waiting until everything is perfect to start living like you're blessed. It's about walking in that blessing even when things still look messy. It's about choosing to carry yourself with confidence even when life is throwing challenges your way. It's about knowing deep down that no matter what it looks like right now, God has already worked it out in your favor. When you adopt that mindset, you stop allowing temporary setbacks to throw you off course. You stop questioning every little thing that doesn't go as planned. You stop worrying about things that are already under control. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting until they see proof before they start believing. They wait for the job before they start preparing like they have it. They wait for the opportunity before they start acting like they're ready. They wait for the breakthrough before they start celebrating. But that's not faith. That's doubt in disguise. Faith means stepping into the mindset of victory before the battle is even over. It means carrying yourself like you've already won because you know that God has never lost a battle. It means celebrating before you even see the outcome because you trust that the outcome is already in your favor. Walking like it's already done is about shifting your entire approach to life. It means no longer letting fear dictate your choices. It means no longer letting circumstances determine your mood. It means no longer second-guessing every move you make because you are confident that you are walking in alignment with God's plan. When you have that kind of faith, people can see it on you. They can hear it in the way you talk. They can feel it in the way you carry yourself. And when you move through life with that kind of confidence, things start to shift in your favor. Have you ever noticed how people who truly believe in themselves carry a different energy? They walk into rooms like they belong there. They speak with authority. They don't question whether or not they deserve to be in certain spaces. They already know they do. That's how faith works. When you walk like it's already done, you stop hesitating. You stop holding yourself back. You stop shrinking yourself down to fit into places that weren't meant to contain you. You step boldly into the life that God has for you because you know you were created for it. God didn't create you to walk in fear. He didn't create you to live with a spirit of hesitation and doubt. He created you to walk with power, with confidence, with the assurance that you are already covered. But the problem is too many people keep waiting for external confirmation before they start walking in that power. They wait for the bank account to look right before they believe they are financially blessed. They wait for the relationship to be perfect before they believe they are worthy of love. They wait for all the pieces to come together before they trust that everything is working in their favor. But faith is about believing first, acting first, trusting first. When you walk like it's already done, you stop reacting to life and start moving with purpose. You stop letting circumstances shake you and start standing firm in what you know. You stop being easily discouraged and start seeing every challenge as just another step toward the blessing that's already on its way. You develop a different kind of patience because you know that just because you don't have it yet doesn't mean it's not coming. God doesn't want you to live with a mindset of waiting. He wants you to live with a mindset of expectation. He wants you to start preparing now, moving now, believing now. He wants you to start speaking about your blessings as if they are already here. He wants you to walk into every situation with the confidence that you are already victorious. Because when you carry yourself with that kind of faith, you invite the very blessings you've been praying for into your life. You attract opportunities. You open doors that once seemed closed. You step into rooms that once seemed out of reach. The truth is, God has already worked it out for you. The plan is already in place. The solution is already set. The breakthrough is already on its way. But if you keep walking through life like you're unsure, like you're still questioning whether or not things will happen for you, you will continue to delay your own blessing. That's why faith is not just about believing. It's about living in that belief. It's about waking up every day and acting like you already have what you've been praying for. It's about moving through life with the confidence of someone who knows that their victory is not a matter of if, but when.